Okay, welcome to the main stage. It is beyond 12:30.
Yes.
And we continue the program on the main stage with the next talk by Christian about his tool Matrix Wrench, which continues our track about community management and moderation. Christian, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I've already been told that, yes, alarm, there is an access token on the screen. Yes, this access token is just for demo purposes. It will be invalidated afterwards. What I want to show with this access token is that if you have a terminal, you can use curl to call a matrix server directly. In this case, we're asking for which account does this access token belong to. And it will tell us the user ID. It's the demo account for this presentation. And it also tells us the device ID. So a couple of things we can do with this. We can get a room list. We can get the state of a room. And eventually we can also, if we have some kind of permissions in this room, push a new state to this room using a tool like curl or any other tool that can fire HTTP requests. This is how we used to do moderation, like a couple of manual tweaks for rooms that belong to bridge accounts, because usually for bridge accounts you can't really log in as these bridge accounts using Element or any other standard client. However, you only have this access token, which you can use for the API. About 2 or 3 years ago, I started building this into some UI. People might already know it as Matrix Wrench. It's like the manual tool that you have at your hand if you need some manual tweaks. So it's not really meant for automation. It's a web client that's very, very lightweight in what it does, and also the libraries used. I'm only using like a React library, but other than that, it's all manually programmed for what this specifically does. It has the network lock at the bottom, so if I click some things like query the rooms I'm joined into, then it gives me this list of, hey, these are the rooms that this account is joined into. Oh, by the way, just this request I did on the other screen. Here I have this as a UI, like just the matrix ID and the device ID coming from the request that we had before on screen. Both this who am I and the room list, if I want to repeat these in curl, I have this network log here at the bottom. It shows me when I requested this and what the status was from the server. Might be useful if it failed for some reason. And then I can also see the curl command. For every interaction I do in this app, it will generate a curl command, so I can replicate the requests if I want to write an app, like a bot, or I'm using some kind of other automation, and I wonder, hey, to get this information of this room list, like which endpoint did you call? And here I have the client v3 joined rooms. I can see what's up in any of those rooms. These are just the room IDs. Usually what I would do is I already know which room ID I'm going into. Coming from this, like logged in as the same account here in Element Web. Could be any account because room IDs and room aliases are generally same on different accounts. Let's find something that's related to the summit. So for example, this general room. And I can copy paste the alias from up here and insert that into this room management list. Resolve the alias if I want to, if I'm just interested in the room ID. But I can also go directly onto show details. It gives me a summary. So this room does federate. The room version is 10, and the highest power level is 100. That means somebody in this room has a power level 100. This is the default for rooms. However, there are a couple of clients that change power levels. It could also be that somebody with the highest power level has left or de-promoted themselves, making this kind of like a broken or unmoderated room. In this summary, I would easily be able to figure this out. Sometimes it can be helpful to ask, am I even a member, or am I just looking at some outdated state of this room? Because if you leave a room, it will still show up in your room list, and for the purposes of your server, you still have a copy of that room until you forget about it. And this is like a separate API call, forgetting about a room. But in this instance, the result is, yep, I'm still joined. Here I can knock, join, leave, forget if I need to. If I had the permissions, I could also do this for other users. Just insert any user ID and then invite, kick, ban, and unban. Unban. If I need to invite a lot of people, I have the bulk invite here, which brings me to this. So like for this room ID, I can just enter a ton of user IDs separated by spaces, new lines, commas, or semicolons. Click on invite, and it will iterate through the list of people. This is something we've seen in Element Web. The other things that we don't have in any of the other clients, it's a bulk kick and also a mass joiner. The mass joiner requires app service API, which is allowed to act upon as these users. If you're familiar with how bridges works, they get a regular expression, so like multiple user IDs that they can act on their behalf. Usually it's bots accounts, but you can also have like an overlap with actual user accounts, because Matrix doesn't really differentiate between bot accounts and user accounts. So if, for example, you're the administrator of an organization and you want everybody to be joined to a new room, you could create an app service that is allowed to act upon all of the users in your organization, and then use the mass joiner to give them a couple of room IDs, give them a couple of user, like give a Matrix Ranch a couple of user IDs, and every person will be joined to every room. This actually means they are entering that room. If you do some kind of analysis, some kind of research, you might be interested in this JSON export of this room. For this, I need to load the room again, and then I have like a room ID, room version, canonical alias, name, topic, join rule, and history visibility as a JSON object, which I can export to other places or like use in other places. We've got member list, which also includes like who has left. And if I had any permissions in this room, I could check if like m.power levels is that, I think. Let's see. Here we have the users who actually have some permissions in here. I could try to change this. This user doesn't have the permission to do so, so if I click on override state, it will ask me if I actually want to do this, because it's kind of like a high critical, like I can't undo this. But it will tell me, nope, you don't have the permission to do that. Your user level is 0, and you would need the power level 100 to do this action. But in this way, I can inspect the state of this room, and I can also modify it if I have the permission to do so. I can add and remove aliases. This one is a fun one. It's a very unofficial, not spec compliant room upgrade, which I temporarily use to get rid of, like for a couple of rooms, we needed to get rid of encryption because a bridge was creating encrypted rooms but didn't actually support encryption. So we upgraded these rooms to non-encrypted rooms, which is not spec compliant, luckily, because you shouldn't remove encryption. And then we have like a couple of Synapse admin tools here. This is this is also using the Synapse admin API for make somebody a room admin. But for this, obviously, you need the admin flag in Synapse for the user you're doing this with. Another feature that became part of Matrix Wrench, which might be interesting for you if you actually do some kind of like analysis of your community or are a data researcher, is your rooms and your direct contacts. Your direct contacts is more a fun gimmicky thing where it will fetch all of the people you have direct contact in your direct contact list. And it will also show all of their display names in all of the rooms that you know them as. So this currently fetches all names from all the rooms. And I guess the longer we wait, the more display names we will see of Kim here showing up. Let's not wait for this, but go to the next. This is basically the same list, but instead of user IDs, it will show all of the rooms IDs or all of the rooms that you're in, with like a name. Are they encrypted? Yes, no. What's your power level? Have they been replaced? That's the room upgrades feature. How many members are there? You can, by clicking on this, sort them. Can sort for how many direct contacts are in there, what's the type. So sometimes that's a space. By default, it's just a room. And if they are world readable or if they are private rooms. This list is nice because you can, for all the numeric ones, you can like sort them. So for example, this way I can easily find the rooms which I have some power level in, or how many members there are. If you're a data researcher, you might be more interested in what's below this table, where this entire thing is again stored as a JSON object. In fact, a big array over all of these rooms. This is still populating and will change, so please wait for this bar to be fully filled up before you copy paste the JSON object. What else to show? I think that's mostly it. Yeah, some of these features, like I still want to do them with, like, for example, you can change the state in a room, but you can't yet change the state in multiple rooms. That's a feature I'm very much interested in. So, for example, a couple of people tend to change their display name when they're on holidays or when they're unavailable. In this way, I want to have like a feature where you can specify, oh, every room that's like part of this space, or give it just a list of room IDs. Perform this action, for example, changing your own display name. Perform them in all of these rooms. Not part of Wrench yet, but those are some of the itches that I have that I'm trying to scratch with this UI software of what used to be just curl commands, typing them into the command line. How can you get started with Matrix Wrench? It is a public repository. I think it also has, basically it's just JavaScript. There's not much happening here. It doesn't have any pre-compile steps. so you can easily host it yourself. I have one public instance running at matrix-wrench.chrpaul.de. It has multiple identities, which is kind of like multiple accounts. An identity is basically a name that you give it just for the internal differentiation of other accounts that you have. Why is this looking so weird? Oh. A server address. These are not resolved yet, so for the matrix.org address, for the matrix.org server, you actually need to use the matrix-client.matrix.org. That's where the actual home server is situated at. And then you can use either access token or a password. This masquerade as feature is only needed if you have an app service token and want to act as a different user. But you can do that. So if you want to use an app service token and act as a different user than what the default user is for that app service token, just enter any kind of like matrix ID, and it will perform all of the requests as that user, and also change the curl commands in the network log accordingly. Yeah, these can be edited or just deleted from the app. I think it will warn that, yeah, these do not invalidate the access token. This is kind of like meant to be used with bridge access tokens. So if you remove it from matrix wrench, it's not logging these out. Also for accounts that, like this one, I'm basically stealing the access tokens from Element web, like a logged in session. None of the features that matrix wrench uses require encryption, so you can use access tokens that have already encryption set up.
How is it stored?
Stored, yes, this is stored in local storage, however, not by default. So if I add an identity, I have this question by default checked off, like not checked. If I want to remember the login, so for example, if I add new, I think this just needs to be anything, and I save this. Now it's part of the list, but if I refresh, only the ones that I had previously stored are read from local storage, and the new one is not. I can also remove the check mark from a previous one. But yeah, that's another like security feature, because I expect you to use this with like access tokens from bridges or whatever. So nothing is stored by default.
Also not spoiled to the server using cookies?
No, this is not. It's only doing API requests against your home server. As soon as the JavaScript and the HTML is loaded from my domain or wherever you get matrix wrench from, it will never fire any other requests ever again, other than what you do want to interact with, like how you want to interact with your home server. No tracking, no metrics, no whatever. Yeah. That is it. If you have any questions of what to do with matrix wrench, or any ideas of how you want to use matrix wrench, or like what's missing, I'm very much open to this. I'm looking for new ideas of how to expand it and how to make it a little bit prettier, because I know this is like very plain HTML style. Yeah. Yeah, that's mainly it. I'm like using it for like quick iterations of, hey, new feature of, oh, I want to have a bulk invite. Yeah, let's do that. And because it just looks like this, it's very easy to add this, like new features.
Yeah, thanks for your talk. I got a small question because you showed it's quite low level. I guess you can brick rooms or like do horrible things with your rooms you want to keep. What are top 3 or top 1 issues you can create by using matrix wrench because it gives you access to things you shouldn't really do? Or did you experience some where you actually caused real harm to a room?
I have not. Usually, matrix wrench is my tool to unbrick the rooms that a bot or a bridge has somehow bricked. So, for example, like in previous versions of the matrix spec, it was still allowed to set a permission level as a string. As long as Python can translate that to a number, it was fine. And I was using I was using matrix wrench to like change these numbers back to numbers. So usually, I expect you to be familiar with parts of the matrix spec and how room state works, or at least how the room state should look like. The server has some kind of guards to guide you. So if you try to, for example, change a state event of the name of a room or the avatar of a room, if you try to enter any kind of invalid properties that don't exist in this spec, it will reject that server side. There is no validation of this on the client side. So yes, you can break things with matrix wrench, but my experience is more that, oh, things are already broken, and now I need matrix wrench or curl to unbreak things.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
There's one technical question from the stream.
Ooh.
And Noah asks, how does the contact list page on matrix wrench work? Does it make use of /mutual_rooms MSC2023?
No, I think, well, we can have a look at what it does in the network log. I think the very first thing that it does, it asks who am I to figure out what's the matrix ID of this user that's currently logged in, to filter that out of any list, like any member list. The next one, it then asks for the account data of mdirect. That includes a list of all of your direct rooms. But this is like a list that clients like Element Web will usually manually update every time. So nothing automated or nothing that's inside of the rooms. It then gets a list of all of the joined rooms, and for each room asks for joint members. And the joint members endpoint will also return the display names. That's how it gets the list.
Yes, I hope that satisfies Noah's question. Are there any more questions in the room?
Yeah.
Perfect. So in that case, thank you, Christian, for this nice demonstration of your tool.